Ever since I remember, I have always loved clothes and dreamt about wearing the clothes that represent me, that show the most possible me. Maybe it comes from the longing of being fully understood by others and myself. Sometimes clothing is talked about as something superficial, but I honestly think that there's more to it. We have all these thoughts and feelings that we struggle communicating, and we reach for every possible tool that can help us to show them. Today I'm going to start working on a blouse that embraces a second passion of mine, besides making clothes, of course, and those are my plans. So I will call it the botanical top. I have the bodice roughly sewn together already because I started making this one on an event. On that day I had no clear idea about what I'm going to make out of it. It was just a vague idea of a cream crop top. After thinking about it for a long time, now I can finally see where I'm going with it, so I feel like the real work starts today. One of my canvases for self-expression became designing clothes, and whenever I wear something I made, I feel as I have somehow stitched my thoughts into the garment, as if when someone who cares enough to look at them closely, they could maybe read my emotions and my story out of the clothes that I created. I've been designing and making clothes for more than 6 years now, and I feel like only in this year have I really started to explore how I can create something that really represents me. It was partly about my skills. I needed to be better at pattern making, drawing and sewing. But I also think it was mostly about daring to create something where I let my fantasy fly and be myself. This top will represent our home full of our plants and my love for them, tending to them, watering them. They occupy a significant part of my time and a big part of my mind space. My green threads are all tangled up. I actually love this kind of chaos because I find it inspiring. As the shades of threads intertwine, my blouse and the botanical embroidery begins to take shape before my eyes. While I may not know exactly how I want the final design to look, I do know the feeling it should evoke. A bit messy, reminiscent of the greenhouses in botanical gardens, where you lose track of where one plant ends and another begins. I hope I can detangle these and that I will have enough green shades to make this vision come true. Now that I have some rough sketches, I can start the real thing. I already have half a branch done here from the event when I started the top, and I didn't pay too much attention to it because I was just chit-chatting with others. So now I kind of need to plan around it. Colors are so defeating. I'm trying to look for the exact shade in threads to match my plant. Not because it needs to be perfect and matching, but because I would like to have this connection between them, kind of like a mom and a baby wearing matching clothes. Embroidery is a beautiful, repetitive thing, with just pushing and pulling the needle. It makes me think about the old times before electricity, when women sat together in a room during dark long winter evenings and spun yarn or mended clothes. It was their entertainment, their work, their social activity. I'm glad that this art is not forgotten and is embraced by more and more people again. This is a long process with delayed gratification. Sometimes I want it to take forever. In these moments, I just want to own the beauty of the process, the gentle pull of the needle and the rhythmic motion of each stitch. Other times, it feels like it's endless, and I just want to speed it up and see the final result. I want to wear it to show it to the world. As I was sitting there and embroidering the monstera leaf, everything just felt so right. Finally, in a really long time, I was not questioning whether I'm doing the smartest or most productive thing. I finally felt calm and at peace. So this embroidery project is taking a longer time than I initially thought. And this is of course because my plans are expanding as I go. So right now I have some leaves on the right side and a monstera leaf on the left side. And this is kind of how much I originally planned to put on it. But as I'm going, I'm starting to get more ideas of more plants that they could start on the shoulder, and then maybe as we go on the sleeves, the vines could run down here on the sleeves. I'm overcomplicating it. It doesn't even have arms yet, like it's not even a top yet. It's just like a little bib for babies. But in my head, it's already a whole fairy outfit. First, I planned it to be kind of like a testimony for the plants that I have. And as I look around my home, I see all these plants and I want to include all of them. I just remembered that it would be so pretty to add the Pilea as well. So imagine like on the side of the top. And what I've done so far is I just made the outline of the leaves and then I imagined the stem would come like this to tie them together. One part of the embroidery that slows me down is this thing here. My green shades get messy all the time, so I picked a few colors and separated them, and then I put them in a bag to take with me. All of them got tangled up again. When I'm getting ready to make the next leaf, I have to spend like 5 minutes on detangling this mess, and then more time finding my needles, and then more time putting the thread in the needle, and it's a lot more time for preparations and less time for the actual embroidery itself. The real-life decorators of my blouse are the 33 indoor flowers. I have always been attracted to making my own clothes, but something I've never thought would happen is that I will grow my own interior garden. I have many babies to put into soil today before winter starts, and some of my plants grew out of their pots, so they need a larger home to grow. My mom and both my grandmothers have always been crazy about their indoor plants and gardening. Their greens were the most cherished babies of the family. I showed no interest for around 20 years, but once I moved into a separate apartment and I had an empty windowsill, this urge suddenly hit me. I should grow something. In a restaurant I saw a huge green wall completely covered by hanging plants, and it looked so alive, so inspiring. I wanted my home to be like that too. So I broke a little seedling from the enormous ivy there, and I put it in water at home. The stolen piece of ivy became my first plant ever. It slowly started growing roots, and so did my passion for plants. They helped me discover new parts of me. I've always thought about myself as someone who can't stick to a hobby or a skill. Whenever I start something, I give up on it soon, and I look for something else. At least, that's how I used to see myself. But sewing and my flowers came to rescue, and they said, "Let me prove you wrong. We will show you that making something with your hands is something you can stick to." So I did, and now they became part of my personality just as my sewing projects. I've been working on this blouse for a few weeks, usually just 30 minutes a day or less. In our fast-paced world, it can be daunting to drag something out like this, but there's something special about taking time. It might seem slow, but it teaches patience and keeps me going. I'm combining two old shirts into this new botanical top. One shirt was used for the body, the piece that I've been embroidering on so far. The second shirt I'm cutting here is thinner and softer, so I think it will be perfect for the fluid white sleeves that I dreamed up. There are up and down sides when it comes to recycling fabric. I have to admit it's much easier to just lay out a brand new fabric and cut out my pieces. I can have as much as I want of it, so if my idea calls for 4 meters of fabric, then 4 meters I will buy. This is not the case when I decide to recycle an old shirt. I have to carefully calculate where to put each pattern piece. I need to take the time and seam rip the old hem to squeeze 3 more centimeters out of it. It's tedious, but also more fulfilling. Now I'm going to make the sleeve for the embroidered top. For the upper half of the sleeve, I cut out 4 rectangles from the old tie-dyed shirt. I used the upper half of my self-made sewing pattern that I used for this white crop top. I use very simple shapes because I don't want to steal the attention from the embroidered front part. I put all this labor of love into first dyeing this shirt with black tea, then cutting it, seam ripping it, and reshaping it into something else. I hope it will be worth my energy in the end. There is so much overproduction of clothes in the world right now, and you can get clothes for it so cheap that I'm pretty sure none of us is in need of more clothes. It's not need that we want to feed, but a passion, a longing for change and beauty. New clothes are really a luxury at this point, like a scented candle. Nobody needs to have it, it just makes our day more beautiful. The triangles on top made out of the first shirt will be on my upper arm. The bottom ones, made out of the second shirt, will be gathered up and attached to the first ones. It's gonna be like this. No, but maybe this is too wide. Did I say those were all the plants I wanted to add? Well, here I am changing my plans again and creating some more. after the sleeves were done, it somehow didn't feel complete. So I'm adding some more. This is how my botanical embroidered top turned out. The shape of the top is very simple, without any darts, and then it has a tiered sleeve. The protagonist of the blouse is the embroidery on the front instead, so that's why I didn't show too many steps of the sewing process. But let me know if you would like to have the sewing pattern and if you would like to see the exact steps of how this top was sewn. The beauty of this whole embroidering process is that I can actually continue anytime. So it doesn't need to be finished today. Whenever I feel like it, I can just put on my frame and embroider one additional plant. So maybe as my collection grows at home, so will the green parts on my top. I really like how the final result turned out, and I feel like it's much more of a drawing or a painting rather than a regular piece of clothing. I can't wait to create new memories wearing it and combining it with my existing wardrobe.